Welcome back to Financial Therapy. It's not just about the money. I'm personal financial planner, columnist, and financial therapist Rick Kahler. Research tells us that 90% of all financial decisions are made emotionally, not logically. For nearly 4 decades, I've been helping people make better money decisions. So what makes my financial worldview different from most financial experts? I blend the nuts and bolts of financial advice with the emotions that drive making them. Good money decisions are not just about the money. So let's get started with today's episode. Well, thanks for joining us for another episode. And this is our 4th and final episode in the categories of money scripts. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over what money scripts are. I think I've given a pretty good introduction in the last several podcasts to that. So if this is the first one you're tuning into, maybe go back and catch the first one, say on money avoidance, and that will kind of set the stage for you. So money vigilance is our last category. And this is a really interesting category of money scripts. They represent a person that has a lot of vigilance, obviously, and discretion around their money. This particular person will have a lot of money scripts that will fall or sound similar to you shouldn't tell others how much money you have or make. Money should be saved, not spent. And I think actually one of the questions on the KMSI-R is I'd be a nervous wreck if I didn't have money saved for an emergency. So you can see these money scripts can be quite different from some of the other categories. And a real interesting thing with this particular category is that money vigilant scripts have a protective aspect to them from the more disordered and problematic behaviors. For example, if you have dominant money scripts in this particular category, you are less associated with or less potential to have compulsive buying disorder or gambling disorder or financial enabling, financial denial, which makes some sense if you're vigilant, sensitive, scanning the horizon for money dangers. You're probably not in denial, at least financially. And financial infidelity, which is keeping secrets from a partner that if they found out about, you would feel a lot of shame. And this makes some sense, doesn't it? Because one of the big money scripts of this particular person is secrecy. I shouldn't tell other people about my money or what I'm doing. Also, folks that have money scripts in this particular category, it finds that they have a negative prediction, and the prediction is they probably have a lower likelihood of having credit card debt. And this makes sense when you think of the fact that anxiety, if there's one feeling, emotion that's associated with money vigilance, it's anxiety. And these are folks that having credit card debt usually will send their anxiety off the scales. Sometimes having any debt, even debt against a house, even what we would classify as smart debt, will keep them up at night and just cause a lot of anxiety to be overtaking their system. So this can be problematic. A lot of folks that fall in the Money Vigilant class are like, yay, this is the best category, because they tend to have money. They are underspenders more often than overspenders. I mean, it all makes sense. And yet they have this huge anxiety that can keep them from making good money decisions. Like debt, smart debt, can be used to build wealth. And I'm going to get ahead of myself a little bit, but you might think that money vigilance probably are more indicative of the upper tiers of wealth. And what we find, and we talked about this last week, is that the ultra rich tend to fall into money status category. And they don't have a lot of the same type of anxiety, especially around debt, and probably because they can understand how the smart use of debt actually builds wealth, hence more money available for status. So there is no one category that's better than another. And this is what I really want to bring out, especially to those of you listening who fall in this category and think, oh, I am so thankful I'm not like the other three. So like I said, this is the only category where the behavior predictive factors have a general positive effect. It is not the best category to be in. And especially, this isn't a great category if you are not interested in building relationships, leisure time, sleeping well, being anxiety-free, or doing fun things. If those are something you'd like more in your life, this is a category that will fight and inhibit all of those things. So let's talk a little bit more about that. You know, especially with relationships, they don't understand the saying that, or the axiom, work hard, play hard. They understand work hard. Play is not often something that is found in their vocabulary. It's really difficult for money vigilance. And I have to say that I am talking about something that I know a lot about personally, because this is the category where I am dominant in. And I remember 20 years ago, maybe 25 years ago or so, when I first started doing this work, I was so aware that a day off would actually strike fear into me. Just thinking about taking a day off was fearful, because it was like, what would I do? To a money vigilant, financial comfort and financial security are critically important. And of course, that what defines financial security is usually a moving target. What was security a year ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago is not the same security today, especially when we attain that goal and we find out the anxiety has not left. So anxiety is a huge reason people seek out mental health counselors. People take medications to try and reduce anxiety. It's not a wonderful thing to live your life consumed by. Anxiety can be bad for your physical health. So this is the main thing that we need to take a look at as money vigilance. And also, this is probably an area, again, where doing some financial therapy can lead to some really positive outcomes. We need to find as vigilants some type of balance in our life so that we can enjoy what we have worked so hard to build. Now, that's easy to say, right? That's an easy sentence to roll off my lips. I want to tell you, for a money vigilant, that is really, really difficult. So I think the first thing that I want to talk about as far as a tip is to work on discovering the money scripts and the stories at the root of the anxiety. And typically, somewhere in this root is trauma. I can go through some other tips, and I will, that are a little bit more cognitive. But the real meat and movement and success is going to be trying to get at the root of this. Again, Money Vigilance is really good for the bank balance. Well, if it's good for the bank balance, if it's good for my net worth, then it's good, right? No, it's not. This is the confusing thing. It appears the Money Vigilants don't have issues around money because they typically have it. They typically can live on less than what they make. They typically are frugal and wealth builders, but they're usually very anxious, and then lack of relationship, lack of fun, staying up at night, not sleeping, and anxiety can consume them. Now, is that worth it to build that money? Kind of reminds us of Scrooge, right? He had a lot of money, but he lived like a very poor person. No question that Scrooge was money vigilant. So while it can be a valuable quality in the ability to save and live responsibly, it can be a terrible quality to your quality of life and richness and fulfillment in life. So, if I haven't struck any nerves yet, you could ask yourself, do you find that watching over your financial situation is taking up more than an hour a week? You thought I was going to say day, didn't you? No, a week. That can just be like this compulsive angsting on the money, the bills, the stock market, what the wealth is. If you're checking your portfolio every day, well, you very possibly are falling into this category of money vigilance. All right. This is not going to make you happy if you're in this particular category. But guess who has higher returns in their portfolios, according to the research? The person that looks at their portfolio once a year. Once a year. Not once a day, not once a week, not once a month. And why? Well, because by not looking, the anxiety doesn't grow. When you look every day, the markets are up and down and up and down and up and down. And when you're prone to anxiety, man alive, that's just going to keep a person in a triggered state. IFS terms, the exiles are going to be screaming, and the managers are going to be doing whatever they can to placate them, whether it's firefighters that are soothing them with some type of activity that might be medicating, maybe work, or the managers are wanting to shut them down with maybe selling the portfolio or doing something with the portfolio to release things, to soothe the anxiety. So it's like a snowball, right? Do money worries keep you up at night? Now, if you having a hard time feeding your family, you don't have really good shelter, you don't have a car to get to work, it could be relatively understandable that a person would have concerns that might keep them up at night around this. I'm not talking so much about that. Is there anxiety involved? Yes. But I have worked with clients easily worth over $5 million that can't sleep at night, that are up all night with anxiety over their financial situation. So I think I'm especially talking about anxiety that keeps you up when, if you really, really take an honest look at your balance sheet and your income might suggest that you're okay. And I say it might suggest that you're okay, but it's because it's really hard for a money vigilant to internalize that I have enough, that I'm really secure, that I'm okay. So You could talk to a financial advisor or trusted friend to kind of figure out, well, how much money is okay? How much money probably means I'll be able to live my life without the fear of running out of money. That's a hard number to pin down, depends which area of the country you live in. But you may be able to get a good idea. Just doing a little bit of work there. And probably inherently, if you're staying awake and it seems illogical that you're worrying. And another question to ask yourself is your Money Vigilant scripts getting in the way of hobbies or activities, or especially relationships? Okay. So if your answer to any of these is yes, then probably it's time to do something different. And probably what that something different is making an appointment with a financial therapist to take a deeper look into the origin of these money scripts and where they came from. And very, very possibly after some work, you're going to find that these stories, these incidences or events or things that you may have witnessed or been told started very, very early in life. So I know that that's like the last thing most of you want to think about doing. You may be saying, well, Rick, can I solve this cognitively? Can I just do something to overcome this that doesn't have to do with therapy? The answer is yeah, sure. Try this. Set an intention to spend less time worrying about your financial status. Okay? So if you spend an hour a day reviewing your portfolio, reduce that to 30 minutes a day, and then maybe to an hour every other day, and keep scaling that back until it's only an hour a week. You could write out notes, put them on your computer screens, reminding you to do this. You could put it into your smartphone reminder system if you have one of those. You could write out notes reassuring yourself that you do have enough, that you are okay, and things of that nature. And that's a great place to start, quite frankly. It's a great place to start. If it doesn't work, then probably you're going to need to go deeper. Now, along that same line are some other things that you can do. You can set up a fund money budget. You can easily do this. You've got the ability to set up an account and put money into that account. Maybe plan a vacation with your spouse or family. Or maybe there's something that you'd like to buy that you've always wanted, but you've told yourself you can't afford that. Well, the chances are, if you're really into this category, and if you're middle-aged or retirement or somewhere on there, probably you can afford it. Try that. Try getting out of your comfort zone. Maybe one of your sticky notes you might have is you put it up as you can't take it with you. Now, typically stuff like this doesn't work, but it might for you. It might. That could mean that the wounding or the financial trauma isn't that deep, that nobody's really ever explained this to you before, and now I'm explaining it to you, and you're like, oh, great, I can do that. So try setting this up. But I have had clients that could spend in retirement 3 times what they were spending, and just haven't been unable to do that. So when we talked about before in some of the podcasts, how when a person's frugal, that switch isn't flipped off when a person retires. So you might try on spending for some fun, doing a splurge that you really can afford. But getting to that point and giving yourself permission to do that is much easier said by me than done by you. And kind of along that line, you might even consider spending on something that's ridiculous, right? And I don't know what ridiculous is for you, but it might be something that you really don't need that would be nice to have. Because you're so frugal, I don't know, just the sheets on your bed may be 15 years old and almost tattered. You don't need new sheets. They're fine. You're sleeping on them. But, maybe spend some money on some satin sheets or whatever would be just a luxury for you. I mean, whatever that might be, whether it's in the way of food or clothes or maybe a car. You probably have never bought a new car. There's a point in time to buy a new car. And, I'm not talking about doing stupid stuff here, especially when you're accumulating wealth. I'm talking about doing this when you can afford it. When your planner's telling you, yeah, you can afford to do that. And you're being met with internal resistance of, oh, no, I can't do that, okay? As a money vigilant, you need to learn how to spend money. You need practice spending money, especially when you've reached your financial goals, okay? There needs to be the reward, the flipping of that switch, the taking that cruise that you've always wanted to take, going to Europe that you've always wanted to do. So run this by somebody that you really trust, and you'll probably get their support, because whatever you think is probably just crazy, just ridiculous. You might get some different feedback from somebody else who is a trusted advisor, right? Who has balance in their life. And talking about a trusted advisor, it's really good to have people in your life, at least a person that you can be completely honest with about your money. Why? Well, remember, secrecy is one of the big issues for a money vigilant. It's really hard for a money vigilant to go to a financial planner, where other categories may feel shame around it. There's fear for the money vigilant because they are going to be sharing their financial secrets with somebody else. They're going to be letting somebody else see what they're really worth. And this is pretty scary. But having a person in your life where you can share these secrets with can be very helpful. In the mental health field, there is a saying that we're only as sick as our secrets. And sometimes those secrets, you might just believe that you don't have enough, that you don't even have enough to go employ a financial planner. I mean, this is really common. And a person comes in and they have $2 or $3 million and they're like, I don't even think it's worth your while. This is nothing. And I always like to say it doesn't really matter if a person has 100,000 or 10 million or 100 million. What you have is all you have. What you have is all you have, and it needs to be respected. So it can be so healing to discuss your financial situation with someone that can provide you insight. We talked about in a previous podcast how we don't have people that we can celebrate with, that we can celebrate the increase in our net worth, that we can celebrate financial successes with. It's especially frowned upon in the United States. So, and there's other countries that it would be too, but it's especially becoming something that is. It hasn't always been that way in the U.S., but it's definitely becoming more and more so. So I hope that these have been helpful to you. And I hope this series has been helpful to you. If you haven't taken the KSMI-R, which is the clinically researched and studied money script evaluation, get on. I don't have the address right here. There's a place online you can take it. You can get a hard copy of it. I think I've got it in one of the podcasts on Money Script. I'll link to that. So Hopefully this has been really helpful to you and is giving you some insight into yourself. Again, most of us have all of these money scripts in us. Some of us just don't have the degree in certain categories that we have in other categories, and it's usually that category that is the highest scoring is the one that gives us the challenges. So again, thanks for joining, and I look forward to talking with you next week. Take care. Thanks for joining me, Rick Kahler, for another episode of Financial Therapy. It's not just about the money. This is where I combine the nuts and bolts of financial advice with the emotions that drive making them. Remember, every financial behavior, whether it appears illogical to you or others, makes perfect sense when we understand the underlying beliefs, feelings, and thoughts. Sign up for my weekly blog at financialawakenings.com. I hope you'll join me again for our next episode.